playing video games. Today is Monday, February 1st, 2021. My name is Brendan Bigley. Welcome back to another week of the show. Thank you all so much for the kind words. Thanks to those of you who have subscribed to the channel since it's launched. If you haven't done that, hit the subscribe button. I'm here every weekday morning talking about the latest in video game news, which is weird on the Monday episodes because it's not the latest really at all. I guess except for this story. The story that I'm starting with is very literally the latest, because this happened in the middle of the night last night. Nintendo released a financial report that included two things that I think are important. Number one is just the headline of this story from gamesindustry.biz, which, by the way, is maybe one of my favorite all-time URLs. I love this website. Visit this website more. Anyway, Nintendo Switch sales overtake 3DS as Nintendo raises forecasts again. So Nintendo released a financial report last night. Their end of fiscal year is March 31st, which just happens to coincide with the delisting of the Super Mario 35th Anniversary Collection, and I think also the Fire Emblem localization that they released, the original Fire Emblem localization they released, and Super Mario 35, which is their take on a Mario Battle Royale game. All of those things delist at the end of the fiscal year. But if you're wondering how Nintendo is doing leading up to the delisting of all that stuff, they're killing it, man. The Switch is currently Nintendo's 5th best-selling console of all time. Not even console, just gaming device. Behind the Nintendo DS, which is at 154 million units, and then the Nintendo Wii, which is at 101.6 million units. Which, when I think of Nintendo, and I think of, their successes over the years, at least throughout my lifetime, I will always point to Nintendo Wii and be like, that thing caused a legitimate fervor, like a panic amongst the world because people loved it so much. I wouldn't say that about the Nintendo DS, but I mean, look at that. 53 million units more than the Nintendo Wii. Imagine if the Nintendo DS had Wii Sports on it. Anyway, then the Game Boy. 118 million units. And I do wonder if they mean Game Boy and Game Boy Color, if those two are connected. Because I know the 3DS and new 3DS are counted as one unit as well. And I think the Nintendo DS and DS Lite and DSi are all considered the Nintendo DS to Nintendo's financial reports. And then the Game Boy Advance at 81 million units, which then puts the Switch at 79, which I think is interesting. I think it's well on its way to surpass the Game Boy Advance and probably the Game Boy eventually. I just realized these are out of order in this article. Nintendo DS at 154, Nintendo Wii at 101, Game Boy at 118. I do think that the Nintendo Switch has the potential to surpass some of the other stuff. I don't know if we're going to see Nintendo DS numbers, but if they're at 79 million, we'll just say 80 for now. If they're at 80 million for now, it'll at least beat the Game Boy Advance. But we're also pretty early in the thing's life cycle. We're entering the 4th year of the Nintendo Switch existing. And from all of the conversation we've seen from Nintendo executives, it seems like they have no plans of slowing down or switching to something else anytime soon. The Switch is going to be the Nintendo console for probably another 4 to 5 years, which then, raises some questions about, is there going to be a hardware refresh or something along those lines, which we actually did have somebody ask Nintendo at this earnings report. Someone asked whether the company would announce an upgraded model of the Switch. No time frame, just would they do it? And the president of Nintendo said, not anytime soon. Not anytime soon does to me indicate that there is an upgraded model of the Switch, which I think at this point we're all yeah, of course there's going to be one. But I think if Nintendo wants to get this number above any of these numbers, let's maybe get rid of the Game Boy Advance in this case, though. But if they want this number to be higher than the DS, the Wii, or the Game Boy, they're going to have to update the hardware at some point soon. And just like the Nintendo DS, and just like the Game Boy as we were talking about, and even the Nintendo Wii, and the Nintendo Wii Deluxe, and the Nintendo Wii Mini, and things like that, all getting folded into the Nintendo Wii, if they release a new Nintendo Switch, this number is going to pop off in a really big way. I still don't think it's going to hit Nintendo DS numbers, but I do think the Nintendo Switch is going to at least get near, if not surpass, the Nintendo Wii numbers, and that's a wild thing to think about. I just think it's really interesting to be living through a period of time in which like Nintendo is potentially at the top of its game, and it's like one of those console generations that we're gonna look back on with just like extremely starry eyes, wondering if Nintendo can ever recapture the magic of the Switch era again, the same way people do about the GameCube era and the Nintendo Wii era and things like that. I think it's really fascinating. And I'm very interested to see what their version of soon is, When they say not anytime soon, does soon mean not during this financial report? Or does it mean not at all in 2021? That's that. Nintendo had an earnings report. I'm very interested as we get closer and closer to March 31st to see what their plan is for March 31st. The delisting of all that stuff like really boggles my mind. I just can't think of why they would be doing that outside of literally just like they want like a Disney Vault situation. So they want like a kind of mad rush to go get this stuff before it's delisted, a FOMO situation. But like coupled with that, I think it's just like, can we use the end of our own fiscal year as kind of like a sales boost in a way? And I think a lot of financial analysts at Nintendo are going to be sitting there looking at that last week or last 2 weeks of March and saying like, yeah, man, Super Mario 35th Anniversary Collection really went wild during those last 2 weeks. So we should do this every March from now on, which would be very upsetting. To wrap this episode up, I just have 2 things that I think you should check out. Number 1 is this piece from Bloomberg. It says Amazon can make just about anything except a good video game. I think that this piece is incredible because Amazon is, they have their tendrils in literally everything, and it's horrifying. Just a really scary company. But the one thing they continually fail at over and over again is video games. And essentially what it boils down to is it sucks that it's like all just one guy, but like it's just this guy. His name is Mike. Mike really goofed up, man. He's just a guy who worked at Amazon for a really long time. And they're like, okay, we'll put you in charge of the video game division. And guess what? He's never made a video game before, and he doesn't understand the industry, so he's bad at it. That's like the whole article summed up, but you should read the thing because it's really good. I've been so interested in why Amazon continues to like fall on their face making video games over and over again. And this piece really highlights why. I actually wrote this piece in July about Crucible, which was one of the Amazon Studios games that came out and eventually got delisted. Or like maybe didn't even come out. I don't really remember, honestly. But just about like how a lot of people are comparing Amazon and Google and their like attempts at entering the gaming space, and like why I think those two can't be compared too much. And it's specifically, just to boil this down, you don't have to read this, don't worry about it. Just to boil it all down to like its basis elements. Essentially, Google has ambition. Stadia is like something new and interesting, and they're like trying to chart an uncharted territory. Amazon's just trying to make a video game. Both of them are failing, but Amazon's failing at the thing that has been tried many, many, many times. And they have literally all of the resources in the world to get right. And that's embarrassing. Too big to fail means taking the kind of money some developers could only dream of and squandering it on the least interesting thing possible. Just like upsetting to watch Amazon fail over and over again, and this piece really highlights how it happened. So check this out. All the links are in the description, as usual. Last thing I want to point out is this kind of like mini doc series that started on Vice this weekend. It's called Reset, and it's essentially just about video games and communities in video games and things like that. I'm not entirely sure what the next episodes are going to be, but the first one is called Inside the World of Fighting Games, and it rules. I highly recommend watching this. It is an extremely good, well-produced mini doc. I just really like it. So you should go watch this. I'll link that below also. Maybe also have it in one of the bubble things. Anyway, that's going to be it for me today. Really quick one. There wasn't really a whole lot of news this weekend. Let me come back to the cool snowstorm. Check that out. There's like a legitimate blizzard happening outside. It snowed like a foot last night. Absolutely wild. Hey, if you like the show, hit the like button. That's, I guess, what the like button exists for. Leave a comment below if you have any thoughts about any of the stories I talked about today. Or if there's anything that you think that I should talk about tomorrow, then I'll do that. But all that said, my name is Brendan Bigley. You can find me on the internet at Brendan Bigley. Please have a wonderful day. I'll be back tomorrow with some more news. See ya.